mixture of uses. The Chestnut Lane, we also have a small area plan for this area. The small area plan shows this area as multifamily, but we did approve multifamily across the street at Cottage Green recently. But, so we do think commercial's reasonable here as staff. They're also incorporated the Greenway. The Greenway master plan shows this as a suburban spine trail along the frontage of Matthews, Weddington Road, and on Chestnut as well. And the applicant is providing 12-foot multi-use path on both sides. Planning Board did recommend approval last month of the rezoning, and staff recommends approval of rezoning. It proposes a non-residential mixed-use development compatible with the surrounding area. It's consistent with our walkable activity center future land use. And even though multifamily, it doesn't show multifamily and it's inconsistent with the Chestnut Small Area Plan, it is reasonable due to the high-density residential already locating in the area. And the applicant also has a presentation. Do you have any questions for me before the applicant presents?
The map that you showed us in the beginning with the red, is that all Union County?
This red? So red is all in Union County, correct? Everything that you see.
No, it
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Union County zone, owned by Union County. I don't mean the
owned.
people, I don't mean the,
So this red is
Right.
owned by Stallings jurisdiction.
right, okay.
And then if it's not colored, then it's in Union County
Okay, so the
jurisdiction.
rest of the green is Union County?
Yeah, that's just the green, like the grass area
Okay.
on the aerial.
Max, I do have a question. In the rezoning development standards, item 6, subsection 2, you had said that the applicant had requested, or not requested, but had committed to 12-foot wide suburban spine greenway connection. This says 10 to 12 feet.
So on the site plan, it does show 12, but I would ask for a clarification from the applicant to commit to make sure that says 12.
Thank
instead
you.
of 10 to 12. Okay. The applicant's here. Let me just pull their presentation up. That's the reason. Okay, there it is. All right, let them present.
Good evening, council. Good to see everybody. You know, I'm here a lot when everybody looks familiar, so good to see everybody here. I'm Steve Singleton, Urban Design Partners. I represent my client and the petitioner for this project. Okay, here we go. So not to go into too much detail, you already know about the site and already know the specifics, but what's important to point out here is the consistency to the vision of the town of Stallings. And so, as Max pointed out, we're in a community growth center. We have a walkable activity center, place type, obviously in the Chestnut Lane small area plan. And then he talked about the suburban spine greenway. This is all really important, right? That all this is part of the town vision. And so what I wanted to point out here was the framework and then delivery that's now approved or in process. And so a big part of the Chestnut Lane small area plan is about activating the entirety of the corridor from Chestnut Lane at the roundabout down through Antioch Church Road. So when you talk about Chestnut Farm Apartments, the future Cottage Green that got approved and in process, and then combined with this project, what you can see in the lines represent the pedestrian connectivity and greenway trail plan as it's being implemented and as approved by those various projects. And so for the most part, you're seeing the reality, I guess the reality come to life, if you will, with some of these approved projects, and including this one as well. And then the other important thing too, is part of the Chestnut Lane Small Area Plan, talks about creating a western gateway as being a primary focus of the plan. And so at this roundabout, the goal with this project in conjunction with Chestnut Farm Apartments. And I'm going to show you here in a moment how we believe with the architectural character and scale, we're creating that gateway. So no need to read all of this, but as I work through this presentation, so that the goal is really to kind of see how do we achieve success with the Chestnut Lane Small Area Plan. So these are a lot of the primary features and goals of the plan. And so I'm going to show you how we achieve those with the plan. So this is the site plan you guys saw initially. Just more of, this is the initial rezoning plan, black and white, kind of technical. And then we've got illustrative plan, which kind of is easier to read and easier to kind of see the detail. So just to point out again, with the roundabout in the northwest corner, Chestnut Farm Apartments off screen, but to the left, we believe that in conjunction with that development and then the activation of the edge with our buildings, we're really starting to activate the frontage, which is a primary goal of the plan. And then you can also see the proposed sidewalk system at the periphery on Matthews Weddington as well as Chestnut Lane, which is a 12-foot paved suburban spine greenway. So when we talk about precedent and trying to create a gateway, most folks, maybe everyone obviously knows the Chestnut Farm Apartments, and so I won't read all this, but the architectural character that exists, which is fresh, modern farmhouse look. It's got two-tone contrast, dark and light. It's got a lot of glazing and windows, and it's got a lot of pedestrian scale features as well for those points of entry and access. And so we believe by taking a lot of that architectural character and applying that to our development, we really start to create more of a cohesive look and feel at the roundabout, thereby reinforcing this sense of gateway. So just a few architectural visuals. This would be almost standing out in the roundabout, looking back at the corner. This is the corner of our site, and so the goal is to kind of activate that edge. There's a lot of utilities currently that run there, so we'll have to do some coordination on ultimately what this ultimately ends up being, but the goal here is to create some sort of pedestrian-centric space, whether it's just outdoor, it could be dining, or if it's more for office, outdoor seating, social engagement, patio space, but something to activate that edge. And then just a few more architectural elevations.
Steve?
Yes,
can I
ma'am.
just- Are you doing the farmhouse architecture or this?
So, yeah, it's really gonna be farmhouse architecture. This one ended up, this color is not what we're necessarily proposing. We wanted to show this just to highlight this is the gateway feature. It'll ultimately probably end up being white, so we'll have to work through that with council.
Because you're proposing flat roofs and not the roof.
Yeah, these are single-story buildings, and they would be flat roofs, would be typical of these type of buildings. But the architectural vernacular, if you will, is really complementary to what's at the apartments. Not so much gable roof, but more in the architectural material, the tone that I talked about, the dark versus light, some of the precedent maybe for wood or timber accents to help distinguish those sense of entry points, and then a lot of the glazing as well. And then just another visual. So we believe this proposal works for these reasons. We believe it's a strong fit for the town of Stallings. It certainly supports the town vision for the Chestnut Lane Small Area Plan. It activates the western gateway, as we've talked about. It activates the frontage, which again is a really big component along Weddington-Matthews corridor. And then the pedestrian linkages and greenway integration, also a big component. So for these reasons, we believe this is the right proposal for this space. And we ask for your consideration. And I would open it up to questions.
questions from council?
I like the farmhouse look better than the flat roofs. And I love the windows, but I don't know how offices are gonna want all of those windows. But I do love that you have parking behind the buildings. I mean, that's a planner's dream, just try to get people to do that. I do have a little bit of a concern about the parking. It just seems like there may not be enough, depending on what you have in those buildings. And Max said that you do have, what our code calls for. But
I
depending
believe
on
we're
the
above, I think
uses-
we're above compliance.
I mean, I don't like extra parking, but I just want to make sure that you do have enough
Sure.
for the size of those buildings and the uses.
But, yeah, I mean, they're single-story buildings, and I guess to be determined would be the actual number of tenants in these spaces. So it's twofold. Parking would obviously be contingent to that, but also the glazing you mentioned with windows. So we don't know how these buildings are cut up necessarily. You know what I'm saying, as far as individual units. So I think the architectural rendering assumes maximum units, if you will, but there could be a case where someone takes 2 or 3 units and you end up with less demand for parking. But not only do we meet minimum compliance, and I have to go back and look at the number, but we are right in the middle of your minimum and maximum. And the goal too is as more residential comes online, and the whole purpose of the corridor with the greenway and the pedestrian linkages is that a lot of this is supported by local residents and walkability.
Okay, good.
I'm going to go ahead and
What do you think?
make this the public hearing from the audience, and then council will have, I jumped the gun. Folks in the audience that have comments, the 2 in particular that signed up, this is your turn. And then if they have questions, or then we'll come back to us.
Okay, thank you.
So Amber Hartis?
I revoked mine. I apologize. I didn't realize what I was saying. I thought it was on a sign-in sheet like the last meeting.
Oh,
Same for Elaine.
oh, okay. Does anyone else have, want to address or counsel on this project? Okay, then I will close the public hearing
One more thing.
and then back to council questions.
Okay, my last question is, what are you going to do with those telephone poles?
You're referring to the transmission easement on the right-hand side of the plan?
Just saying.
Yeah, those stay in place, and so part of the reason why we're showing future development is we don't fully know what goes there just yet, but we wanted to leave it open for some future out parcel. But we're limited on what we can do because of those easements. Those will stay in place.
Those are heavy-duty lines, right? Remember right? And they go
Correct.
right through that residential neighborhood. To the north. All right, any other questions from council?
Yes, Mr. Singleton, you mentioned 12-foot greenway.
Yep.
Documentation says 10 to 12 feet.
Correct.
Can we amend that to 12 feet?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it says 10 to 12 because the ordinance says 10 to 12. We just copied it and pasted it as it was, but we're happy to go just full 12.
Okay, thank you.
That's what we intend, yep.
And then the request for the reduced buffer zone, I assume that's to allow the buildings to be pushed out to allow the parking on the interior.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And also meet the minimum depth we need for these uses as well.
Any other Graham?
I have a question. I think it might best be for Max. Just understanding, so the permitted uses and then what's not permitted is drive-through facilities. However, it says it would be permitted within the future developable area as set forth in section 4, and then it's, which talks about allowing financial institutions, so I assume a bank with drive-through would be allowed. So they wouldn't have to, Does that essentially mean that they would not have to come back before council to get approval if they wanted to go forward with that?
Correct. So for the future developable area, they'd be allowed to do anything permitted in mixed use two and get that reviewed administratively if this was approved. They would have a few prohibited uses like vape shops, CBD retailers, hookah lounges, and similar. But they're also requesting, as part of the conditional zoning, to allow drive-through banks as a administrative review and not have to come back to council.
Okay.
Just in the future developable area. But they don't know what they're doing with that specific site yet. But anything future developable area would have to follow all this, parking, building placement, and things like that.
But it would just essentially be, so there conditional zoning on this part, and then the future developable area would just be MU2.
It would be still part of this conditional zoning,
Okay,
just reviewed as like a separate phase.
okay.
Anything else?
Do you have more questions?
No, I'm looking over you, so you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We made eye contact. I thought you were going to keep asking questions, which is fine. Very good. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to make a couple of comments, by the way. This is my district, so I live in a neighborhood near this, so this has been very important for our community. A couple of our community members are with us tonight. So some things I appreciate about this and some things I just want to point out. I appreciate, number one, that this is unincorporated now and it came to the town of Stallings for consideration and embraced sort of the community plan. We talk a lot about small area plans and how they start out one way. In fact, we talked about that earlier today, and how they come out looking a lot different. If we were to go back 4 or 5 slides, you'd see that plan document. You couldn't tell from there unless you had lived there where those streets are. I know them because I know the plan. I could pick out this parcel. And believe it or not, this lines up fairly closely. The use is different. The use is not multifamily housing, but that's okay because I think this community, by virtue of conversations with many of you out there, desire less multifamily housing, particularly on this site, in favor of some commercial, particularly neighborhood-serving commercial. So I want to point that out. I think the developer and his team was very responsive, so thanks, Steve, for that. We cared a lot about the approach to the roundabout. There was a lot of consternation about the apartment complex 7 years ago, about what kind of neighbor they would be, both in activity and in look and feel. And Mr. Pappas built a very nice-looking apartment complex, and they have been good neighbors. So notwithstanding the comment about less multifamily around the roundabout, this does accomplish the idea of coordinating a look and approaching the roundabout with some green space, some trees, 50-foot on center, and the 12-foot sidewalk, which we're thrilled about. The one thing that we've, I don't think is clear, the renderings, Steve, show power lines underground. I don't think that's part of the proposal, is it? Correct, I don't think so. Artistic renderings of what would look like a corner western entranceway, the green building that may not say green, you don't show power lines, but I just wanted to point that out to the council. I don't think this proposal intends to bury current power lines that are running through.
You talking about on the, adjacent to the roundabout?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not,
don't
there's
believe-
a whole bank of utilities through there.
yeah. It's beautiful to think about a rendering with no power lines. I just wanted to point out to council and the public who might have seen that rendering that those power lines and those poles probably stay.
Correct.
And there's no way to easily get rid of those. I am concerned, and Steve, one more question for you. There were some comments during both the neighborhood meeting and the public hearing, I can't remember, from the property owners to the south and that wrap around the parcel. I know they're here tonight. There was questions about stormwater. He's got a pond. We want to be a good neighbor to them. What consideration was given to sort of runoff and capturing and to make that family feel good about their property at the conclusion of this?
Sure. Well, it's interesting as I saw the site plan. So we're showing a vibrant blue pond, which we know that's not what it's going to be. It most likely would be a sand filter or some sort of low-impact development type stormwater feature. But it'll be designed to meet all the requirements for quality, quantity, and so forth. I mean, it'll be,
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to lose that thought. Throughout this process, y'all have been very responsive. We've had good community input. Some folks shared some comments to me, but nothing has been really negative. So I would be happy to make a motion when council's questions are complete to approve the annexation and the rezoning.
I have one other one, I think, for Max, which is that when this came to us in the planning process, that we had, Mr. Singleton had just presented the architectural similarities to the apartments across the street. Is that, Max, did I miss that in the development or the CZ application about having that in there in writing?
So if you want consistency with the Chestnut Farms apartments,
I think that's the intent of the presentation, but I just want to make sure that we have that in.
we could put that.
Yeah.
Would you agree to that in writing?
I'm pretty sure we already added it.
That's why I was saying, I'm not sure if I had missed it, so I apologize if I
You
did.
can use-
If not, I know we talked about it. If not, then we'd be happy to add it, because I know on behalf of my client, he's more than willing to make sure that this complements the character across the street like we showed in the presentation. So if it's not in here, then we will make a note or add a note before this is approved.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And I do have one additional question. Max, clarify number 12 on the landscaping and screening, parking lot islands and other planning shall have construction, fill compacted clay removed, replaced in at a rate of 900 cubic feet per tree. Is that speaking to the trees that would be in the parking lot?
Let me pull this up.
It's right here. It's really a typical note, just to make sure that any rocks and poor materials removed and amended with good soil, so the trees have a viable chance of survival.
That's a developer, requested condition, yeah.
So I'm trying to, conceptually, it looks great. The parking lot, lots of space. I see trees. Is that a firm commitment that you will have trees in the parking lot? I mean, to me, it's just, when you drive into a parking lot and you have no trees, it's hot, and it's also just it can be an eyesore. So is there a commitment to put trees in the parking lot?
Yeah, for sure. I believe it's required by the
So,
code.
yeah, so that's not part of it's required as part of our code. So for example, every 15 parking spaces, they have to have a tree island separating. And I think that's what they're showing in the rendering. They just didn't specifically lay it out, landscaping, because it's required per our code.
Okay, thanks.
But, let's see. Yes, any other?
Councilman Richardson, I just wanted to make sure that the request that I've made about the architectural similarities to the apartments is in line with what you had discussed with residents in your neighborhood.
It is.
On this plan, it shows the walkway, and is there some kind of some kind of landscaping on the, between the walkway and the road? It's not shown, I know it's just conceptual, but.
I mean, ideally, yes, because as far as good planning principles and creating, narrowing the street, slowing traffic, and making it more pedestrian-centric, you'd want to have trees out in the landscape strip. The reason we didn't show it is because we haven't yet had that approved. We're within NCDOT right-of-way where the sidewalk currently is shown.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we coordinate that before we assume that we can do that.
Lori, if you look
They don't
across,
typically allow trees in their
if
right-of-way.
you look across the road, this is a good image. You'll see curb, you'll see gutter, you'll see a 12-foot sidewalk in the gray, black and white, and then you see the street trees on the property owner side. That's what I would think we're expecting, not a strip of trees between the curb and the sidewalk, but to match up with
Well,
the
I'd
other
like to
side.
see something between a road and a sidewalk.
Ideally, we would too. And so, but we didn't show it because we have to coordinate that before we can commit to that.
For example, we had atrium put in trees between the road and the sidewalk, and NCDOT required them to move the trees behind the sidewalk, behind the greenway.
Well, why can't you move the sidewalk in and then put those trees on the other side? rather than, I don't know, you don't want a sidewalk next to the road. It's too close to the road.
And it's, right now, there's an 8-foot buffer between back of curb and the greenway. And that's what we were asked to provide.
So Laura, you bring up an interesting point, and I'm not sure that would, Max, could we have in the development agreement, excuse me, with the conditional zoning, that you would work with the developer to see if that's 12-foot sidewalk, which is currently hugging the roundabout, could it meander through the green space and wrap the building, allowing trees between it and the road? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not a requirement, but a question. It could meander through that large open green space there.
Is that a condition
But
that?
I hate having last-second ideas at the night of the approval, but it is worth putting in there an option if it would be,
Yeah.
it's right where the utilities are, I understand, so that might be, yeah. I think that's what's driving a lot of that open green space, because of the utility. We wanted the buildings initially to be sort of hugging the curve, but it's impossible to do.
Yeah. Is that something that you would want to?
We're happy to
I'd leave it
discuss
open.
it and coordinate it.
Just
but
leave
I
it
think there's
open,
a lot to coordinate before we can commit to that,
I agree.
both with utilities and right-of-way. So we're happy to look at it. into it.
So you talked to DOT about this and the right-of-way and the sidewalk?
We haven't yet. We would have to as a part of the permitting process. We'd have to submit this as NCDOT for review and approval and encroachment permits, all that fun stuff.
Okay, so they haven't made any comments on
No,
anything
they
yet?
don't ever get involved until we get into the actual permitting on site.
And then one of my neighbors had, I think he'd read that outdoor dining was not a consistent use or allowable use, but we've determined he must have read that somewhere else. So, Tim, we're good with outdoor dining or outdoor patios if a restaurant were to be there is okay.
Yeah, that's permitted.
Any other questions on the 25.1001? If not, we'll move to the annexation 59.
Mayor, can I put this in one big motion or do them
Well, I
separately?
think Melanie, do we need to have a public hearing on annexation 59? That's what I was doing. Open a public hearing for annexation 59. Any information from staff that we need to know? That it hasn't already been addressed?
No additional information for the annexation,
there-
as far as I'm aware.
Are there any public comments about this annexation? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve conditional zoning 25.10.01 along with annexation number 59 with a statement of consistency that the proposal is consistent and reasonable with the comprehensive land use plan.
Second?
Questions?
Wasn't there supposed to be an amendment there that from 10 to 12?
If that needs to be part of the motion, that you would include the 12-foot sidewalk commitment in the motion, we
And
certainly
the other
do that.
ones that we agreed to with
And those
the,
other ones.
architecture and to discuss, coordinate the greenway meandering.
Yeah, like, look at those incorporated into the motion.
And the landscaping.
Amended? How's the council vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No. That passes. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to CZ 25.04.01, the 3732 Pleasant Plains Town Center. I'll open the public hearing and hear from staff, but we'll give them a minute.
Thanks, sorry, I just want to make sure I didn't forget him to initial the
No
changes.
problem, you're a busy guy tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.
There it is. All right, so thank you, council. This is conditional zoning CZ 250401. This is for Pleasant Plains Town Center 2. There are two Pleasant Plains conditional zonings that you have seen in the last year. This is just the second one. They're totally different projects. Just wanted to kind of make that clear. So Mr. Jolly with consultant Urban Design Partners submitted a conditional rezoning request at 3732 Pleasant Plains. And the request is a change from town center zoning to conditional zoning town center to accommodate 60 townhomes. We did have a neighborhood meeting back in July that originally also showed shopfront commercial units. With the reduction in intensity of the use, they were allowed to move through the process. Additionally, the community had feedback on traffic. Just keeping this to townhomes reduces the traffic. And this is the aerial right here. Currently, there's a car upholstery place, like a car, kind of a car repair area in the town center area. This is the site plan. With 60 townhomes, the developer is gonna go into a little bit more detail on the site plan, but it does have only townhomes fronting the streetscape on Pleasant Plains Road and no more commercial shopfront units as part of the proposal. It's surrounded by town center zoning and MFT, multifamily transitional rezoning. Multifamily transitional is kind of like a misnomer, but it only allows single-family residential. These are, Arlington Down is right next to this, and also Wendover at Curry Place. The closest zoning category to those townhomes that's not conditional zoning is MFT. But the total site is 6.07 acres in total, and they are not, the TIA traffic impact analysis threshold was not met with 60 townhomes.
Max, you said MFT was single-family homes?
So at the time in 2018, MFT allowed townhomes, but we've removed townhomes from a permitted use.
So
in
that's a
MFT.
townhome development next door?
Correct, yeah.
Max, do you know if this didn't hit the 1,000-trip threshold, where it falls around?
Yeah, I asked engineering, and they said around 150 townhomes would trigger that traffic impact analysis number. This is 60.
Thank you.
I know you've seen this feature land use before, but it's walkable activity center, which supports a mixed-use community, but also recommends townhomes, retail, shopfront, office, and mixture of uses in our town center area. We do have a town center small area plan for this area. If you look at it parcel by parcel, this parcel specifically shows office on the frontage and townhomes in the rear. But overall, there's a lot of townhomes requested on this site to support all the commercial that the small area plan shows. Without that residential, you can't support the commercial in the town center area. They are also incorporated streetscape per our streetscape master plan. Our current streetscape master plan shows it around like 30 to 38 feet wide. We've looked at this, and it does seem like it would be a lot larger than any other municipality or area requires. So we've worked with the developer, and they're showing 18 feet. And that's the closest plan type would be to our plan type 1B, which is currently in our Greenway master plan. Per council direction, we are looking into amending our streetscape master plan to amend those widths for more consistency with surrounding municipalities. And that should be to you in hopefully April, if not by May. Planning board did see this last month, and they recommended approval.
Mayor, if I could, one quick question. Is the proposal the same as what we approved for Pleasant Plains 1?
For the streetscape?
Yes, sir.
This is consistent with the Greenway, or excuse me, streetscape.
Okay, so they're the same, okay.
They're on different sides of the street, so, but they're relatively consistent. So, sorry. Staff does recommend approval of CZ 250401 to rezone the property to CZTC. It incorporates townhomes that aligns with our town center land use and small area plan designation. It is more consistent with some of the town center by right commercial zoning because it shows those townhomes, and it incorporates the streetscape per our streetscape master plan. You have any questions about the zoning information before the developer presents?
Well.
I'll let the developer come up then.
Yeah, let them come up first.
I think I have this one separate, this right here. Okay.
Are we supposed to start sending you Christmas cards, Steve?
That'd be great, thank you.
All right, all right.
I should probably do the same. Okay. Again, Steve Singleton, Urban Design Partners, representing the petitioner for this project. So you guys are fully aware of the project. I just want to kind of point out as well, the STAR just is a talking point for me. This is not technically at the county line, but it is just inside the county line. And so we believe that this project, when developed, would be a strong first impression for folks entering the town from Matthews on Pleasant Plains, and thereby creating a sense of gateway. So typically, we don't get into geotechnical studies until we're kind of in design permitting, but we decided to pursue one earlier. And I want to just bring this up because initially when we had the commercial shopfront townhomes that we initially submitted, we got the geotech back. And I just wanted to point out that we did uncover an old farm pond, roughly the size of an acre on site, which is outlined in the blue. And so the average depth of 5 feet, it's a huge mitigation cost. And so the mitigation cost, the reality of the mitigation cost, combined with more conversations we've had with lenders and knowing we know about the market, that's why we pivoted from commercial shopfront to townhomes. We know townhomes are in high demand. We know those are low risk, whereas we know commercial is also high risk and also harder to get lending. So it economically makes the job more viable with townhomes. So a little context on Pleasant Plains. We know that it's a collector corridor with roughly 14,000 traffic counts per day, primarily drive-through traffic, commuters, and obviously hitting adjacent neighborhoods and adjacent communities. It's an NCDOT corridor, with no on-street parking, extremely auto-oriented with very limited pedestrian activity. And has no established walkable retail pattern. Again, we find this current condition of Pleasant Plains to be in direct opposition to the requirements we would need to sustain any commercial retail. Town center, no need to go into this. We all know what the town center goal and vision is. Just kind of pointing out it does permit attached houses. Obviously, it does seek the mixed use, walkable, higher density, pedestrian compact type environments, which is also what we're trying to achieve with this development. So rendered site plan, it is rotated from true north that you saw originally. So it's rotated 90 degrees clockwise, so the north would be to the east, or plan east. And so a lot of the comments we got during the public meeting resolved around a couple things. It was amenities. They were curious if we would have amenities on site. There was some concern over potential residents hopping the fence or leaving the neighborhood and utilizing adjacent amenities of other neighborhoods. And so they wanted to know if we would provide an amenity. And in the sense of an amenity like a swimming pool or clubhouse, 60 townhome units doesn't warrant or justify that. But we did find a way to remove actually a few townhome units and add an amenity, which we believe is a strong anchor for the site as you enter. It's a great terminating feature on the internal street, which we've also used as an organizing element on the site. We believe this will be a strong pedestrian-centric, linear public street internal to the site, which will also accommodate on-street parking. Another concern that neighbors had was quantity of parking. And so we believe that by meeting compliance at 2 per unit, also adding up to 24, we'd have to kind of work with the design, but up to 24 on-street parking spaces on the internal public street and also some additional visitor parking down at the amenity. We've now eclipsed parking compliance, provided for flex parking, and addressed some of those concerns. We also believe, and I kind of pointed out earlier, that this new development, once it's constructed, will be fresh, new, and a great kind of gateway feature entering the town. So you take this and combine with the other Pleasant Plains that we keep talking about that we know got approved, and I feel like we've got a ton of momentum for achieving what we want, which is the town center. And so we believe that this support of this project, in conjunction with that other one, really creates a great foundation for precedent setting of Pleasant Plains and creating the streetscape that we all want, and helps support the vision for town center. The other important component too, irregardless of commercial retail, is activating the edge. And so we believe that careful attention to architecture, front porches, right sizing the buildings in scale with a lot of attention on the connectivity to the street is the best way to engage the street, activate the edge, and again, create that walkable streetscape appearance currently is what we want. I say appearance because just one development with a streetscape doesn't create walkability. But the goal is that by creating the precedent and getting adjacent developments online, we start to create the framework and connectivity. So this site, this has nothing to do with architectural look. This is more about the internal street I was mentioning. When we talked about making that pedestrian-centric, front doors, activating the edge of that street, rear-loaded alleys. So the goal would be up to 3-story scale internally on the site, but the goal also would be to have those buildings close to the sidewalk. So we're creating community engagement, social interaction, and then the two graphics on the left are just exhibits to kind of help explain the organization of that street with what we call bump outs. And so if you're familiar with bump outs, then no need to explain it, but I'll explain it anyhow. The goal on bump outs as a planning principle is to create organization on the ends of a street and even internal to the street with 8-foot planted medians, if you will. What that does is it decreases your crosswalks. It also visually, if you're looking down a street with bump outs, it creates the vision of a narrower street, which we know reduces speed, increases safety, and also helps to create this engaging social space that we're trying to achieve with the design. So as far as what we think this will look like, this is an image that we shared at a subcommittee meeting as well as planning board, and seemed to have a lot of support for the character imagery. And so while this may not be exactly what we're proposing, we do believe the scale of 2 stories is appropriate for Pleasant Plains. It's a good transition as we move into maybe up to 3 stories internal to the site. So again, this would be like Pleasant Plains type look and feel. Attention to sense of arrival, connectivity to the streetscape, front doors, and even porches. So this is the character imagery, and then we've started working with an architect to kind of help create something that complements that character image that we just shared, but also gets something a little more specific for this site. And so while this still needs to be refined more, this is starting to capture the essence of the architectural character. 2 stories, some gabled, some dormers, residential scale windows, and then again, porches, and sense of arrival and front doors. We also believe this is in alignment with the town vision to activate the edge and create a pedestrian-centric corridor. Just another 3D view, nothing really much to see, but again, showcasing scale, kind of look and feel of the buildings relative to the street. And then why we believe, again, commercial is risky. I mean, we've talked to folks, we've talked to lenders, we've done our homework. We know that there's high demand for retail in parts. Like we know Charlotte has high demand for retail, but it's also very specific types of retail. You need to have clustered retail, you need to have visibility, you need to have pedestrian traffic is kind of the key for the success of retail. Retail also is heavily dependent on anchor tenants. So usually your shopping centers with a grocery store or some sort of anchor tenant, which we know doesn't exist in the current application on Pleasant Plains. So we would call that more speculative retail is what we're talking about. And speculative retail, while there may be some demand, we also know is also very risky. So for some of these reasons, we're concerned about the lack of pedestrian traffic. We're concerned about lack of parking on street. We believe on-street parking is really key for creating social engagement and people stopping to shop, and especially for shop front type uses. And then I would focus on the one here in the middle, inactivity amplifies a negative perception. My concern, and I say this in all sincerity, I've been here a lot, I've gotten to know you guys. I care about the vision. I care about achieving the zoning, the town center zoning district for Stallings. I'm a neighbor right over the border here, Matthews, and I'm here a lot. And I say this with all sincerity. We're not against commercial retail at all. We're concerned about commercial retail in the current climate and on the current corridor as it exists today. It is of high risk for my client, and it's also high risk to the town, because if we do commercial retail, if it sits vacant, which it has a high likelihood or possibility of doing, it's gonna set us backwards instead of taking us forward. We've got momentum right now at Pleasant Plains on the east, and again, I think approval of this project really creates that precedent and propels us towards that vision that we're searching for with the town center district. I know this is Matthews. I'm not comparing us to Matthews. The only point showing this, if y'all are aware of this, I'm sure you are, is even in an environment where Matthews has a core, an urban core, they have on-street parking, they have plenty of parking, and they have all their shops and commercial retail. It's very active, it gets very busy, and yet we've got buildings sitting vacant now for 2 years plus, which is, that's the risk that I would mention. Even in a place like Matthews, the risk is there. So while we believe residential works, again, for these reasons, immediate occupancy, we know demand is there for housing. We know that Stallings continues to benefit from the growth in the Charlotte metro area. We know that the suburban migration is a real thing and people are moving to the suburbs. We know that housing demand outpaces housing availability currently, and we believe that doing this helps fill a gap, a needed gap. So instead of doing something that may create occupancy with commercial retail, we're providing a product that we know meets demand. At the same time, activating the edge and helping us achieve our vision for the town center district. So in the end, why this proposal works, and I've already said it, but I'll repeat it. It activates the street now. It helps us achieve the town center zoning district now. It avoids the risk of vacant retail that again would compromise that goal if we do that and it sits idle and vacant. It builds the foundation for future retail. So it adds density and rooftops now that we need to justify and support commercial retail of the future. And it advances our vision, the town center vision that we keep talking about. So by creating the compact pedestrian-oriented environment on this development, getting the streetscape we all really want, and creating that consistency from this project to the other Pleasant Plains, we're setting a precedent, we're creating momentum, and I'd really hate to see that compromise now. So I would ask that you guys consider approval. I look forward to entertaining questions. And I would also add that should you guys decide maybe tonight's not the best night for approval, that we would at least defer and make more opportunities to meet and discuss this, because we do feel very firm that this is the right proposal at the right time for the town. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we do to council questions, we're going to have a public comment section if anyone. I know that nobody else signed up, but is there anyone here to speak on this? Come forward and name and address.
I would like just to ask a few questions. So I own a property right there.
Your name, please.
Sorry, Francois Swanepoel, and I live at 609 Geldron Drive in Stallings. So I live in Arlington Downs, right there by the entrance, where this proposal is going to go up. There's already a lot of traffic there. So even without the development, would the council, could we put a traffic light in there? Is that something we can work on? Because there's a lot of traffic there. And if you're adding 60 units, I live in a neighborhood with 108 units. If you're adding 60 units on 6 acres, a traffic light would be nice. I don't know how you're going to fit 60 units on 6 acres, but that's your problem. I just think it's going to create a lot of. I'm glad to hear that there won't be commercial properties there, because that would really, really help. And I know it's easier to put up residential, much easier than to put up commercial. So for me, that's a positive. But the traffic over there, we really need a traffic light. Please consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can address that too.
Anyone else?
Good evening. I'm David Privet. My home address is in Monroe, but it's 2603 Rolling Hills Drive in Monroe. I think it's important to tell you guys a little bit about who I am and what I do before I tell you why I'm here tonight. But so I live in Monroe. I have 2 businesses in Monroe. And the reason I'm here tonight, I recently purchased the property across the street from the proposed development. It's 3701 and 3733 Pleasant Plains Road. It's Rocky River Materials. It's a landscape yard. It's been a landscape yard there for 35 years. And I'm more or less here tonight just to kind of go on record to say, hey, I'm not really for or against. We've been operating our business there for 3 years now, going on 4 years. I've got a lot of history in the area. I was born and raised in Matthews off of Weddington Road. Probably about the closest thing you'll find to a native person to the area. But, I was born and raised about 2 miles from where this store is. Matter of fact, down Pleasant Plains Road, there's Privet Road that goes off to the right near Squirrel Lake Park. That was my family's land back in my grandmother passed away in the late 80s. But, we leased the property prior to January 28th of this year, and I purchased the property then. Very large investment for myself and my business. Again, the reason I'm here tonight is to kind of go on record and to say I'm not really for this or against it. I realize that, there's zoning there for it to maybe be whatever you guys would, decide and approve that it might be. I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to be here and be on record tonight about who I am, what my business does, what our intentions are, and that I find myself back in here in front of you guys in 3 or 4 years because of the 60 tenants that moved in across the street, or the 60 people that might have moved in across the street. Someone has an issue with my business being there. I've heard you guys talk a lot about mixed use tonight, and since I've bought the property, we've done a lot of improvements. I'm committed to continue to make improvements to the property. There's really been no improvements made to the property in 40 or 50 years. That'll be changing under my ownership. Again, it is owner occupied. I bought the property as an investment for my business, and we also own and operate that landscape yard. I understand we've got we've got an obligation to the town and to the residents and to the neighbors to be neighborly, to do our part. I'm not here looking for a free pass tonight, but I guess my hesitation or my concern is that I'm not here. I'm not part of this, and I didn't realize until tonight I'd missed other meetings. I guess the reason I was notified now is because I'm the property owner and I'm no longer the tenant. I didn't know there had already been prior meetings to tonight. And again, I just, my concern would be that, 60 people end up across the street from us, and a portion of those folks have a problem with my business across the street from their new neighborhood. There's been a landscape, I want to remind everybody again, I don't want to be redundant, but there's been a landscape material yard operated off that property for 35-plus years. I'm born and raised native to the area. I live very close to the area, and am committed to being a good business owner, a good property owner. Look forward to seeing Stallings grow. I think, Stallings has a lot of opportunity. I don't want to miss my opportunity to be here to go on record about my concerns as a property owner across the street from a new subdivision.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, can I
Welcome.
ask a question?
Welcome to Stallings, and here's a question. But we don't usually do that.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Understand.
I appreciate you being here. You're hoping to give us some information. What are the concerns that a neighbor might have across the street from your business? Because I think that's what you're hoping to tell us.
Not so much that, it's just, I don't know what concerns someone might have. I mean, it amazes me every day that I hear people say, I've done a lot of new home construction. I've been in business for over 30 years. I've been part of new home construction I started my business that way. One of the biggest complaints I would hear from the first, say, 5 or 10 people that moved in the neighborhood is complaining about all the other neighbors that were building their houses in the back of the neighborhood. And it's like, hang on a minute. You're complaining, what about when they built your house, And then why are you complaining about them building theirs? They're on the second or third or fourth phase. But you're complaining about the construction of them building their house, but what about when they built yours? You weren't here, and what about the inconveniences that you imposed in the construction process of your house being built? People don't consider that. And then so people also don't consider, hey, we're moving in a new development. We've got a landscape material supply yard across the street from us. And then, the development gets built, there's a HOA formed, and then I'm back in here in front of you guys in 5 years having to defend my right to operate my business because there's a HOA that no longer wants me to be part of their community when we were there before that community was ever built. That's my concern. And again, I've made a sizable investment in the community. At this point, I'm not just leasing that property, I bought that property. So, my intentions are to continue to own and operate my business from that piece of property. So that's my concern, is that someone has issue with, us owning and operating a business across from the street from their new subdivision.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And hold that, Stephen.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you all. And we'll open it back to council questions.
I just wanted to say that this council has protected other landscape from the same kind of situation. So we understand where you're coming from.
Any other comments, council?
Well,
Questions?
I have a lot of comments.
Well, let's do one at a time. So we can get everyone to speak.
I don't agree. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a loud voice. You sort of are contradicting yourself. You're saying that you can't put commercial in because it's not viable economically. But then you're saying that the other parcels will be putting commercial in. Well, maybe they're going to come and say the same thing that you're saying. That makes no sense. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good plan. We can't have a detriment to the town because a developer doesn't want to do what's required in the town center. I mean, it's the beginning of the town center. It just doesn't seem right that we should just say, okay, no commercial, okay, the next guy, no commercial. We have no town center. I'm not going to walk around there because there's, 60 units. I'm going to walk around there when there's a commercial place, and, like you mentioned, Matthews, and, Peel, it's a vibrant area, even during the day, and this isn't going to be vibrant if we just let everybody not do what whoever wrote the design guidelines for the town center, what they had in mind. It's just gonna be auto-oriented. It's not going to be pedestrian. There's gonna be no pedestrian because of this project. The cluster retail that you were talking about, that means, that's what we want. We want this to be retail out front, and you can have some condos or townhomes, retail out front, and then the next person has retail out front. That's what's going to bring people into our town, not, we'll have 60 people or 120 people or so that live there, but they're just going to, they're going to go to their jobs. They're just going to get in their cars and go to their jobs, and nobody's going to be walking around, and that's the point of the town center.
All right.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
Can I comment, Mayor?
Well, I'm sorry, but Brad was next.
Okay.
Then you.
I'm happy to defer, John's.
I'll,
So,
Brad.
a couple thoughts. Mr. Privet, thank you. We actually discussed sort of that idea. Mr. Privet, right? That's right. Yeah, I'm a native as well. Hauled supplies here since I was a kid, so I'm glad you're the new owner. We did discuss sort of that tension that might be there between a landscaping supply company and residences. So we'll acknowledge, we've talked about that sort of earlier on. No great solutions. I'm glad you're here. Yeah. I would think maybe it would less be HOA and looking out at your yard. I think it's actually a nice facility you have. It's just maybe the daytime backing up of tractors and the beeping. I assume that's what you're talking about as well.
There is an element of
Yeah.
noise.
Got it.
Truck traffic and,
Yeah.
it's part of what you would expect.
You bet. Yeah, it's worth thinking about. I love my colleague to the left. I disagree with her, though, and she knows this because we've talked about it before. I think that clustering of a single use on a site is okay in certain instances, and this would be one, primarily because commercial along the frontage needs to be, well, I don't want to repeat the developer's words, but needs to be vibrant, filled. And I look at the vacancy at the large shopping node right at the corner of Potter and Pleasant Plains, where that's a big sucking sound for retail for the next decade or more. So I feel like the developer's argument does make some sense on the face of it. So I'm okay with that. To the resident who lives next door in Arlington Downs, thank you for coming. I am concerned about traffic here as well. I think the remedy is twofold. One is the intersection improvements we did at Potter Pleasant Plains, which hasn't helped yet on that eastbound road. But I think what we expect and what we talked about here and y'all talked about in your neighborhood meetings is by the time this is built and complete, the connection of McKee Road extension to Monroe would be open and ready to go. That's your traffic control point, a very large, is it 4-lane? Maybe 4-lane, at least 2-lane connector from McKee Road through Pleasant Plains to Monroe.
Supposed to be done.
It's cleared now, probably within the time this is built, I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. But even if it's not, it's been funded, cleared, they're out there building it today. It'll come out to Eddie's Place on Monroe Road, and that's gonna siphon all the traffic that normally would come there, I think. It's a tough spot, so I agree with you. I think that's a remedy. A question for the developer, 60 townhomes, I count 56. Where did 4 go? Was it the pulling them from the pavilion area? Because right now it's 56 on the plan I see. So where do you, is it
So I
50?
think what we're doing is trying to be flexible up to 60.
Up to 60, okay.
56 is currently what's on there, and then with design permitting, usually we can.
Okay. Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that at the back of the property, what's the back or on the left of the slide, you removed several to add some open space, which I thought made it nicer and added an amenity. So, yeah.
Sorry,
Back to you.
slow. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, yeah. So there, I think maybe an earlier rendition, there were a row of 4 townhomes back there and what's that?
There were 7 back there.
7 at one point, yeah. So there's been a reduction of size, so I get it. So those are my comments. I don't know exactly what I'll do. I am a little bit concerned about the, Mr. Privet's concerns. I think it's a real one. I don't think it's one that we should overlook lightly, because those 4 residences there will be looking out on dump trucks moving in and out of their property all day long. So, something to think about. John?
John?
Yeah, I have a couple. One, and I guess part of this will be the overall traffic will get relieved some with the McKee Road extension, but I kind of like the potential of residents, you know, may or may not complain about the business across the street. We may also hear complaints about traffic at the same time when Grace Academy is being, you know, when drop off and pick up. Like, was there any thought or plans to remediate that? I guess that might be a question for the developer, but it's just something that the town should be aware of, that could be a future complaint that we might hear. The other one, this one is for the developer, was what is the plan for, like, what would the trash pickup look like in this community?
TBD, but typically, it probably, well, we have the public streets we'd consider.
Like, where would people keep their totes, or would there be dumpsters on site, or?
Typically, you have them roll them out, and you have either a public or private company comes and picks it up. So whether it's with the town or whether it's a private third party, to be determined.
Yeah, just like, they're like in garage storage, or how, you know, or they be outside storage for their rollouts? So, just seems like there wouldn't be a lot of space for storing those and fitting like cars in the garage and such, you know, has that been thought through, is my question?
Not yet, no.
Okay,
It hasn't been a problem in other, sorry, Kate, I'm Josh Johnson.
Okay. Hey, Josh.
Developing the project. It hasn't been a problem in other developments that we
That,
pursued.
that might be up to the HOA.
That's
they-
exactly, typically HOA
Okay.
guidelines
Yeah.
are established
Okay.
and in place prior to the development.
Okay.
And normally the HOA is not gonna wanna see
okay.
trash bins scattered all over the place.
We have a third party, a private company picking up our trash
Okay.
for others, so that's possible.
Okay. And then the last is just a comment, it was just, when I first saw this, without the commercial component, I did have concern about that, but then it came to mind, and the very picture that you showed is one that a property I drive by probably 8 times a week. And, I'm thinking a vacant, unused commercial, especially something brand new that's, attractive, there's nothing wrong with the building, that becomes a deterrent for developing, additional commercial with closer into the town center. So even though I had concern about the lack of the commercial, I do appreciate that we don't want to do something that was going to prevent the commercial from developing closer in toward the town center. So I do agree with your assessment on that.
Mike?
I was eager to see a project within the town center that did initially live up to the ideal of having a mix of commercial and residential. But I think my biggest issue with this project is that it takes the stance of saying that what our ideal version of our town center is, which, when you get a property like this, that you probably only get to do it once, is that it takes the pessimistic view to say, here's why we can't do something. And I don't like that. And as Councilwoman Wadowitz said, just because it costs money to, in this case, there's the remediation of the pond, just because it's expensive for someone who wants to develop the land, tough, I think is the way that I look at it, is that if we want to create the vision of the town center that we think we can have, I don't think this meets it.
Graham?
So I'll lead off with a question. How much paved road or uh, the internal road, how much linear feet is that? And will it be private or public?
The primary spine down the middle would be public, the rest are private alleys. As far as the length, I don't recall.
Sorry, so the
Maybe 360
Public street.
400 feet in length.
And who would be responsible for maintaining the private?
Well, the HOA would maintain private, and then if it were public, it would be maintained by town.
All right. And then, so you mentioned it multiple times, the amenity, is that essentially just the pavilion?
I think it's TBD, but we do have some language in our conditional notes that it would be, it'd be the pavilion, it'd be trails, maybe, well, I mean, I don't know what it'd be, grills, stations, perhaps a playground. I mean, I think there's some flexibility in there currently.
So I mean, I hate to always go to myself, but being a parent of little children, having lived in a town home development that had none of that, other than it had a little walkway, you do feel the lack of having a playground or anything, and I can see that creating issues with, I think it was mentioned by Mr. Richardson, or children like running to another development because of their amenities, like hopping the fence. So I do see that as a concern, but I'll just say I have some concerns with this, and I do echo some of the sentiments before. I don't see how this is consistent with our small area plan, our comprehensive land use plan, and I think we have a vision, and it seems like we're always going against our vision. So I think, for me, I'm just saying, I'm putting my foot down and saying, we've caved on, we had a plan, and we've given up on it repeatedly over my 4+ years. So I think it's time we stick to what the plan was.
Thank you. Anything, Stephen?
I'm personally okay with dropping the commercial. If I look at the span of where, if we look at Matthews and we look at how much space Matthews produces and where its commercial is, a town that's been there for, the better part of 150 years, and we look at Stallings and we kind of put a concentric circle around Matthews, this is farther away from that concentric circle of Matthews than any of their commercial development. So being realistic, this to me doesn't feel like it's within, I know we talk about town center, but that would make us bigger than Matthews from a town center perspective, putting commercial down that spot. So I'm not as concerned about it, because I think realistically, if you look at Matthews and the work that they've done over the course of the last, 30 years, for commercial to really develop on that front corridor there, that far away from where I think our town center is, it just feels like it's gonna be, that's 100 years from now. Probably when we're tearing down these townhomes to put something else up, just to be blunt. That's just my thoughts. When I look at it on the map and look at the size of downtown Matthews and where their commercial ends, I just feel like this is probably, I know it's in town center, but it just feels like it's too far away from where we really think of our town center. And whereas with the other Pleasant Plains that's in what I call the triangle, I do feel that that is core downtown area. And we do know that eventually a lot of that is going to want to sell and transform itself. And we know that some of the properties there have already changed hands within the last 6 months. And so that's my general feel on the commercial, is I feel like it's too far away when you compare the size of Matthews and where its commercial sits at versus where our town center is, our actual town center, and how far the commercial aspect of can radiate out from there. But that's about it that I have.
Again?
So, sorry, I just,
That's okay, that's okay.
no, what I would say is, and welcome continuing the conversation, but I think we have a split here, it sounds like, or we're getting close to that. And to Mr. Sterling's point, rather than just, if it is potentially a vote for a denial, I would just, is this something we should continue? And maybe we can address our concerns over the next couple weeks, see if that would,
Could make that motion.
that would be my motion, is to continue this. Because as I mentioned, I do have concerns, and I also, but I've already expressed them.
What would you hope to gain by, I don't think they're going to change their mind.
Well, what I would say is my vote isn't because this is the lack of commercial. I'm not hinging my vote on that. My yep.
Please continue.
As I said, it doesn't align with the plans we have currently, the small area plan, comprehensive land use plan. And then I had some concern with just the private alley, public road, the whatever the amenity is. So I don't know if that's something that maybe we could be addressed off in the next 2 weeks. That's just that is my motion, that you can say no.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Before we second, I'd like to just, could we list the,
There is a second.
normally there's some discussion after the second before the vote. You didn't give us that. Is that okay?
They jumped.
We jumped. I know we jumped. Just and maybe we could talk to Max. I feel like we ought to sort of have our staff work with the developer, and we can send staff some comments. I like your thoughts, Graham, about public-private roads. The duality of maintenance could be problematic. I don't know how the bulb outs work and the on-street parking. Are we paving that in the maintenance or not? I'm concerned about Mr. Privet's business and interaction, at least with those 4 townhomes there. Steve, you articulated better than I did why I think commercial doesn't work here. Again, I think this is not in our town center proper, but I know that's a great point. So those are the kind of things I'd like to have our staff work with them. I don't think 2 weeks is enough time, though. I'd give it a month. I don't want to see this back unless all those sort of answers what I'm saying. I think it takes a while.
Amended motion?
I would not say a month, because that would put it on the same night as,
Well, they can come back when they're ready, I guess is the point.
okay.
Do we have to put
I think the developer may want to say something. The applicant has a hand
Yeah,
up.
sorry.
May I just stand?
Absolutely.
And have the opportunity to just address a couple of the questions and concerns? I don't know that I'll have this forum in front of all council members again.
Come on up.
Thank you. For those of you that I haven't met, I see a lot of familiar faces. I know I've met a lot of you. My name is Josh Jolly. I am the developer on this project. Mr. Privet, I'm also a native. I just got 20 yards of pine bark nuggets delivered to my house from you on all my investment properties. You guys do all my mulch work, dude. I've been working with you for years, plan to contend. I've been buying stacks of firewood off of this actual property for years now. You guys see them over there, the $10 stacks of firewood. So I've been doing that for years now. To address a few of the questions, a few of the concerns, there were comments about the economic viability of this project. Councilman Cousins, to your point, tough for you, the developer, if you can't make any money on it, right? And that's the approach that we initially took with this. Even out of the gate, we didn't want commercial on it. The problem with that, when we got into that geotechnical information and we discovered that farm pond, don't know how familiar you guys are with farm pond remediation and site work, but having that farm pond and needing to remediate that more than doubles the cost of the site work. So at the beginning, it was a profitable project, one where we were willing to look at the commercial shop fronts and say, you know what, there's risks there. We don't believe that the 14,000 cars that travel down Pleasant Plains Road every day is enough to support light commercial and retail. We'd like to see a minimum of 20,000. Really, we like to see 30,000 cars to support speculative light commercial and retail, and we didn't have that there. But we were willing to take that risk before because the overall project looked good and it penciled. When we discovered that, that one was kind of a game changer for us. Now, adding that expense plus the risk of adding the commercial, which could remain vacant for some time, made the project not viable, made it one that doesn't pencil, made it one that when we spoke to both lenders, financial lenders, as well as institutional investors, that they kind of looked at us a little bit sideways and said, guys, we can't take on this type of risk with this type of a project. So that really hindered our ability to move forward with the development of it. So I kind of wanted to address that economic aspect of it. From a functional standpoint, we really want to be a good neighbor to the town of Stallings. We want to be a good developer. We want to work with you. That's why we've eliminated units from the back of the development there, and we're willing to do a reduction in unit count. That's why on the front streetscape, we've agreed to do 2-story units to create more of that walkable environment along Pleasant Plains Road, which seems to be what town council's looking for. To be able to create that environment where you're gonna have some pedestrian activity, where it's going to be an inviting space and not just looking at the sides of townhomes. And we thought that a 2-story product, which provides a wider footprint, 2-story product with that wider footprint will provide the wider front porches, more living space out front for the residents that are there. The traffic, I don't know that we can address the traffic on this one, so I'll just leave that for what it is. But all that said, I'm happy to address any questions that council has. I'm happy to have one-on-one meetings, one-on-one conversations, work with you guys on the vision, work with you on the planning. We truly do want to be a good partner in this process, and help Stallings to achieve the town center goal that they have in mind. And the one thing that I've heard over and over that I really think is a conversation for the council, and hopefully we can be involved in it, is within the mixed-use zoning designation of the Stallings Town Center, does every single parcel have to be mixed use? I feel like that's really a question, or is it the overall feel of the town center that we want to be mixed use? And that seems to be a lot of what's being asked here is, hey, does this whole parcel have to be mixed use, or is there potential for it to be residential and allow the commercial to fill in behind it? As a developer, and I think most developers you talk to, we typically believe that you put the residents, you put the houses, you put the customer base first, and then the commercial follows that. Very rarely, I don't know if I have seen a successful development where they've just built the commercial somewhere and hoped that they come. That's not typically how that goes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a motion to table and a second, so we need to resolve that now.
Mayor, point of clarification, was there or was there not a time frame set on that?
Not yet.
There was not.
There was not yet. Brad asked something that I said, do you want to make a friendly amendment to that motion? And
Sure.
do you want it?
Mayor, point of clarification, the motion has been seconded, so if you want to add to it, you would need to dispense of that motion.
Can I just withdraw it?
It's already been
Oh,
seconded.
son of a
Let's vote it down and then we can start over.
Correct.
Okay.
How's the council vote on the motion to table?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. All right.
That's unanimous. All right, cross that. Now, what's next? Gents and lady?
When is the Stevens
The 13th.
13th? So the following.
27th would be.
27th, all right. I move that we table this until April 27th meeting. Or a later date if requested by the developer.
Not good.
They're gonna do.
We'll be in town.
I will be absent that meeting too.
Or, I mean, if we're voting on it, we could probably just do it that night.
Yeah.
Well, I think the developers team wouldn't be in town that day.
No, I mean, we could do it to Stevens Village, Stevens,
No, I'm fine, yeah.
we're just doing a vote.
Which night do you want to table it to? Does it have to be date certain?
Melanie?
No.
Why don't we just leave it
And
open?
the,
Okay.
No, public hearing is done. That-
so we're not having.
All right, then I withdraw my motion and make a a third motion to table this with a date to be determined.
Second.
Do we have to put a date on it?
No, we just decided we
Okay,
didn't.
okay.
All right, how's it,
We're back to the original motion.
okay. That's a motion made, motion seconded. How's the council vote?
Aye.
That's affirmative.
Nay.
Tabled. You were nay? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm an A.
I thought you were, I thought I heard it down there. All right. 5-1. Tabled. All right. Now, next up, Bailey Mills, Phase 2. Give Max a second, because he's a busy guy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so this one I created just a memo for. Oh, that's not it. That's just supplemental information.
It's a good lawyer.
I think this is it. All right, so Bailey Mills Phase 2 was a conditional zoning CZ 210901. They received approval on March 28th, 2022 to rezone. This is incorrect address, but it's on Matthews Weddington Road. I think it's just Stevens Mills always in my head. But this is it was a conditional zoning for 23 townhomes that were attached to the original Bailey Mills Phase 1 development agreement that included 92 townhomes. Since then, a one-time 2-year vested rights extension was permitted by staff, which expires on March 28th, 2026. Staff can no longer administratively extend the conditional zoning, so they submitted a vested rights application so council may decide if they would like to allow another 2-year extension to the vested rights. If council does want to permit the vested rights, this will be the last time they can request vested rights unless they get a building permit. Additionally, you have findings that you'd also have to make an affirmative for that, based on Article 7.13-5 and State Statute 160D. I know it's a little bit complicated, it's our first vested rights application, but do you have any specific questions?
I'm okay with it. Extending it, but it would only be for 2 years, the vested
Correct.
rights.
It would, so if this was approved tonight, their vested rights would expire March 28th, 2028. March 28th, 2028 would be the expiration date.
And just to clarify, the land that this piece is on is completely landlocked by the other developments and everything. So, I mean,
Yes, correct. The only access to this site, based on the site plan, would be from the Bailey Mills Phase 1 neighborhood.
yeah.
NCDOT would not allow another driveway onto Matthews Indian Trail Road.
Okay.
And the reason they have not received a building permit yet is due to Union County sewer capacity.
Okay.
And that's the only reason that this has come back before us. Is that correct?
Are there any additional information that you would like to provide?
That's the project.
Okay, the primary.
Interceptor project, we've been tracking it, and it's set to finish up in mid-June, 1st of June.
So there is a realistic path forward on this.
Yeah.
Just to be specific to the question, my wording was only, yours was primary. Is there another reason?
No,
Okay.
that's the only reason.
Thanks.
Any other comments, questions? How's the council feel on this one?
I'm good.
You do have to make findings.
We need to make a motion.
I'll make
I
a,
move that we approve the vested rights request by Max for Bailey Mills Phase 2.
And as part of Article 7.13-5, the vested rights application, the council shall make the following affirmative findings.
Let's get to the wording on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max, where is it?
What page is that on, and the
It's
wording we need to use?
69 of
69.
81.
69 of 81.
Yeah.
And I have them up on the screen if you need me to
Okay,
increase that. They're kind of split. I didn't mean to do that.
okay.
Do these need to be read as part of the motion?
You just need to find each one in the affirmative. Do they need a vote on each one? Or-
Each one on the Article 7.3.
Or just vote, all of them are in
I think they could
affirmative?
say that a motion to approve the findings as presented.
As
Okay,
presented.
I see. All right.
Yes.
We taking
Okay.
2 votes then, or 1 vote?
This one vote.
On this one?
Nope.
Okay.
Doesn't
There's a
appear.
motion on the floor.
Yep, motion, was there a second?
I'll second.
Do we need, do we need to add that wording?
Yes.
Lori, can you add it, please? You made the motion, right?
Oh, I have to add it now?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay, Article 7.1.
No, you don't have to read them.
I don't have to read it?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as written by the
Right.
planning
As
department?
presented.
Is that it?
Affirm.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Bailey Mills. Next up, board and committee reappointments. Waiting on Aaron.
You ready for me? Okay.
Oh, I thought you were, fiddling, getting the stuff.
Mayor and council, each March, we bring to you the seats on the various committees whose terms expire March 31st. Our terms run from April 1st to March 31st of any given year. In your packet, you have the list of committee members whose terms expire at the end of this month. And you also have the new term of expiration if you choose to reappoint them. The actual applications for these members were in your email with your packet. This is just a list. If you would like to reappoint all of these individuals, you can do it in one motion by stating their name, the committee that they go with all terms. It just so happens for this particular go-around would expire March 31st, 2028.
I make a motion to approve the reappointment of Deborah Wagenhauser to the Historical Committee with the term to expire March 31st, 2028. Did I say Historical Committee? Yeah. And then to the Community Committee, Sophia Cordova, Amber Joyner-Hill, Mark Leadham, and Ernie Roy, all with terms expiring March 31st, 2028. And then to the Stormwater and Infrastructure Committee, Don Saley, with a term expiring March 31st, 2028.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Well, this passes. All right. Eunice. Good luck.
No one wanted to stay for the splash pad update. Bummer.
All right.
We are.
Yeah, thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it. All right. Well, good afternoon, council. Bear with me with this information. I just received a lot of it last week. So I'm truly here just for informational purposes. You guys do not have to vote on anything tonight from my side, so that's a plus. So I just have a few things that I wanted to come and kind of tell you guys about, especially before budget comes, because I kind of got hit with some information from the county that I was kind of prepared for, but was hoping for the best. So I'm going to kind of walk down this road with you guys, and I'm hoping that I can kind of just be on this path with y'all together, because it's going to get kind of funky, but it will keep it fun. So as y'all know, the splash pad project was approved in last year's budget. We had some money there. It's already allocated for. What we wanted to do was just make the splash pad safer and also a little bit more manageable from the Parks Department side. With that being said, we wanted to remove the spheres safety, replace it with flush jets that already got approved. However, the other piece of that was this chemical storage. We wanted to convert it to a liquid chlorine system. With that, we have to get up to code with the Union County Health Department. And with that comes a bunch of permits, a bunch of stuff getting sent over for their final approval. Unfortunately, what the Fountain Division, who was awarded the contract, submitted was not approved. That was, I would say, the cheapest option and what we were really hoping for. However, a few months ago, I did kind of put it out there that one side of this, if they didn't approve it, would be a building. Unfortunately, and with that being said, I get it, we want the public to be safe, so that's our top priority, but that does come with a price tag on that. So you gotta think, this is a public space, it's not your backyard pool, we can't put a prefab building out there, so it has to meet this code. I've been dealing with this for a few months, so what that means is the building has to be 7 feet tall, it has to have lighting, it has to have cross ventilation. It can't just be something that we find at Home Depot and put out there and say, woohoo, let's throw some chemicals in there. If we could, we'd save a lot of money and the town, I'm sure, would be happy, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So with that being said, I kind of did some digging before coming back to you guys, because I'd hate for y'all to spend some large amounts of money on something that we might not need if there's other options out there. So that's where I'm at today. I'm kind of getting more information. I want to keep y'all in the loop. I've reached out to the city of Monroe and their contractors who did their splash pad project 2 years ago with the most recent code. And they hit me with the price tag between $250,000 to $500,000 for their building. Yeah, woohoo, audible gasp for the record. That really took me by surprise. So with that being said, I kind of took a step back, reached out to Dina at Waxhaw. They just put in kind of an interactive stream. There's some options that we can kind of get some feelers on. However, we're not at that stage tonight to walk down that road. I just want to let you guys know that we're taking care of it. We'll be back with some more information. We'll probably get the firm out here that did the City of Monroe's work to kind of talk through what the future of this splash pad looks like. So to kind of bring you up to speed to where we are at today, the sphere removal got approved. The county needed some more specs for the flush jets, so we'll go ahead and replace those. We'll keep the chlorine system that we have now, which is not the best as far as staff goes. It's very manual, very staff heavy. However, it will get us through this season. And then we're gonna have to start working through some ideas on how to push through the future, because it's just not sustainable. So with that being said, we're still on track to open the splash pad in May as planned, Memorial to Labor Day, same hours. However, that building is gonna be just the question mark, and I'm gonna look through some options if that building is necessary, what we can do, just kind of what's out there. I don't want us to commit to something if there might be some backdoor options and can get a little funky, but also want to make sure we're up to code with the county and do something that is sustainable for the future of Stallings, because I know that this splash pad has had a lot of money kind of tossed at it, and I think that's just the nature of the beast a little bit. But I do want to make sure that we're making the most fiscally responsible decision for the town. The splash pad, well, it came with the park in 2012 as part of the Partif grant, so we've really been running it we're going on almost our 15th year anniversary, so woohoo. But as you guys are aware, and maybe some are not, the history of the splash pad is it was made to be just like a fountain for the public, had some lights, was not supposed to be chlorinated. And then so we kind of had to do some upfitting along the way. So we've kind of just reached a point where we just kind of need to take a step back and maybe explore some options for the future of the pad, while also making sure we're not spending a ton of money and being very responsible, but also keeping the community safe. Yes?
Is there a possibility of grant money for this kind of retrofit?
That is definitely something we can look into. Like I said, I really am just trying to absorb all the information I can.
All right, you got your hands full.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, I'm trying. Yes, Councilmember Ayers?
We've got two houses over here that are nicely sized. Could they not be used temporarily as the holding position for these chemicals?
So unfortunately, the chemicals have to be fed through our pump system. So that would mean we would have to feed chlorine all the way from these homes, probably underneath the road to. This isn't I believe where you're going is you're thinking of a room just to store it.
Okay.
Like, this is where we keep it safe. I could see how you got there.
Okay.
But however, this is gonna be essentially almost like an attachment building to feed the chemicals to the system.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
my apologies for not explaining that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it would have been great. I would have loved to store them over there. That would
Well,
be
I mean,
awesome.
yeah, that's, when you said storage, I was thinking, hey,
Woohoo!
we got perfectly
Yeah, oh.
buildings that should fit that. Okay.
I wish.
Where does $250,000 to $500,000 fit as a percentage of the Parks and Rec budget?
As a percent of our budget, so if you're looking at like a quarter of $1,000,000, you're probably looking at maybe a sixth of our budget. If you're looking at $500,000, you're towing that fourth, depending on what our capital projects are.
Right.
But as far as our general operating budget, we're probably cruising at that $1,000,000 range. So it would be a substantial capital building, so.
So the basis of the disagreement is just over how these chemicals are properly stored.
Correct. And it's not the storage of it so yes, you're storing them, however, they do not want the chemicals to be in the same building as the pump room. That's where this gets to. And where it gets a little sticky is the North Carolina Administrative Code has a really big umbrella for pools. And now that splash pads are becoming more popular, they've kind of added in this language for aquatic features, play features. And so that's where Union County, I believe, is trying to kind of get with where the standards are for the state and make sure everywhere is safe.
It's evolving, basically.
Exactly. And I do believe that Stallings was kind of ahead of its time when the splash pad was built 15 years ago, because y'all are probably getting, more information that these pads are popping up everywhere instead of pools.
Thank you.
Yeah, of
So when
course.
you're saying it'll be open in May, where are the chemicals gonna be?
So currently, our feeder is in the pump room. However, any changes has to be up to current code. So we're almost grandfathered in.
Almost.
We are, however, we can't make any changes. So our system is a little archaic, and it's very manual. Like, if you go over to Indian Trails, they can do stuff from their phones, they have Wi-Fi, they get notified their splash pad could cut off if lightning's detected. For us, someone has to be here 24/7. So when the first year it was open, I was the only one on staff that had a pool certification. So it was wonderful, very blessed with the job. Thank you for keeping me here, but it was extremely hard. Yeah, it was extremely hard. So, and we're facing a little bit of that challenge, and we kind of get that pushback from the public as well as, why are you guys not open late? Can you extend the hours? And it's because, there's someone like me that has to be certified to stay here for the duration of that. It's just a tough place to be.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Any more questions?
How much did we're grandfathered in, but we're replacing the balls, right?
Correct.
Did that didn't?
We're not
impact
doing
it?
anything to the chlorination system or the integrity of the pad. It would just be removing the spheres and replacing them with flush jets. No piping is getting changed.
And how much does that part cost?
That's $30,000. And we would still move forward with that as approved.
Okay. I'm just trying to think through. what
No,
else could be done.
I totally get, it's a hard, it's tough. I'm just a sponge right now. So any questions that you guys have or come up, please send them my way. If you ever want a tour of the wonderful splash pad, I would love to show you.
How about the chlorine room?
You are more than welcome. I'll open the doors and you can take a view.
Very hospitable of you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, welcome to the park. Please wear your badge.
So just out of curiosity, I mean, have you thought about, like, if we had to do this building, kind of,
Yes.
just your thoughts on how that would, I mean, how that would look, or where that would go?
Yeah, I'm meeting with Pete and Monroe soon and Dina out in Waxhaw. So I'm going to start poking some big directors in the county that have done similar projects to kind of pick their brain on how to make this the best it can be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's right in the middle of the park, so.
Well, and it's a staple. I'd hate to lose that. I mean, that thing drives me crazy, but I love it. Please don't get rid of it. It's like a mother-in-law that you just, you love, but, so please don't let it go. I want to keep it around. But, yes, so I will definitely try to collect all the information I can and come back to you guys.
Can we sell advertising space on the building? I'm just.
Maybe, the Graham Hall experience, I don't know, something exciting.
Well, just get something.
Yeah.
Eunice.
Your
Yeah,
bail
of course.
bondsman idea is coming back.
There we go.
Motion's on the floor for adjournment.
Second.
Now there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those usually go quickly, that particular motion.